I'm standing by the drink table, plastic cup in hand, when I hear it, her voice too loud, too amused. Look at this, my dad's love letter to baby me. They're laughing at my handwriting. My hands shake worse when I'm anxious. And tonight, I'm anxious. The letters look crooked, childish even. Her fiancé leans in, squinting at the framed paper she's holding up like it's some kind of joke. Did you write this with your feet? Someone asks. More laughter. Daughter. My Emily grins wide. She doesn't see me yet. I'm partially hidden behind a column in her new apartment, surrounded by her fancy friends at this engagement party. Everyone's dressed in clothes that cost more than my truck payment. But that's not just any letter. That's the one I wrote the night her mother died. The night Emily was born. I set down my cup carefully. My hands are shaking now, worse than usual. I walk toward the door, past the laughter, past the champagne tower. Nobody notices me leave. Not yet. Let them laugh. You'd think after 26 years, your kid might know who you are. But standing there, watching her mock something sacred, I realized she doesn't know the man behind those hands. She knows the version they sold her. The handyman. The quiet dad with the lunchbox and the paint-stained jeans. Not the one who made a promise over her mother's body. Not the one who held her for the first time while nurses cleaned blood off the delivery room floor. She knows Chris the carpenter. Chris who fixes her sink when it leaks. Chris who shows up to holidays but leaves early because he doesn't fit in. She doesn't know the Chris who spent 3 hours writing that letter, hand cramping, tears blurring the ink. The Chris who promised Elise he'd be enough for both of them. Maybe that version of me needs to wake up. Because I've been quiet for too long. My name is Chris Henley. I raised my daughter alone. Her mother, Elise, died giving birth to her. No drama. No lawsuits. Just grief. The kind that sits in your chest like a stone and never fully dissolves. I was 28. Elise was 26. We were excited, terrified, normal. We'd painted the nursery yellow because we wanted to be surprised. We had names picked out, Emily for a girl, Evan for a boy. We never got to use both. The delivery started normal. Then it didn't. Complications. Hemorrhaging. Doctors running. Machines beeping faster and faster until one long, flat beep that I still hear some nights. They saved Emily. They couldn't save Elise. I became a father and a widower in the same hour. The nurse handed me this tiny, screaming creature wrapped in a pink blanket, and I didn't know if I was allowed to feel joy. But silence can hold secrets. And I kept one. It was 3:13 a.m. when the nurse suggested I write something. For when she's older, she said gently. Something to hold on to. So I did. I sat in that sterile hospital room, Emily sleeping in the bassinet beside me, and I wrote through the tremors. Through the shock. Through the blood still on my shoes because I hadn't thought to change them. My hands shook so badly I could barely grip the pen. But I wrote. I wrote about Elise. About how she'd laughed that morning, joking that Emily was going to be stubborn like me. I wrote about the moment they placed Emily on Elise's chest, and Elise whispered, "She's perfect." I wrote about the promise I made, that I'd love Emily enough for both of us. That letter became my tether. My proof that in the worst moment of my life, I chose to keep going. Until tonight when they made it a punchline. Elise's parents never liked me. I wasn't college educated. I didn't present well at their country club dinners. I worked with my hands, and that meant I wasn't good enough for their daughter. They tolerated me at the funeral. Stood beside me in black, faces stiff, shaking hands with mourners. But after that, they took control. Smiles like knives. "We'll help with Emily," her mother, Patricia, said. "You shouldn't do this alone." It sounded kind. It wasn't. They had money. Connections. A big house with a pool. I had a 2-bedroom rental and a truck that broke down twice a month. "Let us pay for a good preschool," Patricia insisted. "Elise would want the best." How do you argue with that? How do you say no when they're offering your daughter opportunities you can't afford? So I said yes. Just to the preschool. Just to help. And little by little, they took my daughter too. I never lost her legally. But emotionally? That was slow. Like watching someone drift away on a boat you can't reach. They offered the best schools. Ballet classes. Summer camps in Vermont. Ski trips to Colorado. Things I couldn't even dream of providing. I couldn't compete. I tried once. Told Patricia that Emily should stay with me more during the summer. She smiled that thin smile and said, "Of course, Chris. But she's enrolled in equestrian camp. She's been looking forward to it for months." I didn't know Emily even liked horses. That's how it went. Decision after decision made without me, then presented as if I'd already agreed. "We thought you'd be relieved," Patricia would say. "You work so much." I did work a lot. Because I was paying child support I didn't legally owe, trying to contribute something. I thought love would be enough. I thought showing up, being steady, being there, that would matter. I was wrong. By middle school, I was Dad in name only. I picked her up from school sometimes, texted her good night, paid for things when they asked. But her heart? That belonged to them. She'd talk about grandmother's garden party or grandfather's golf club. Never grandma or grandpa. Always formal like they were royalty. I was just Chris, the guy who fixed the porch railing when it broke. She stopped calling me Dad around age 13. Started calling me Chris instead. I didn't correct her. Didn't want to make waves. Her friends didn't know I existed. When she posted pictures online, it was always with Patricia and Gerald. Family dinners at restaurants I couldn't afford. Vacations I wasn't invited to. I kept a calendar on my fridge with the days I'd see her. Some months it was 3 days. Some months, what? Until one moment when she asked me a question that cracked me open. She was 14. I was fixing her bike in Patricia's driveway. "Why do your hands shake like that?" I looked up. She was staring at my hands like they were broken tools, something defective. "Is it genetic or something?" She didn't sound concerned. She sounded disgusted. Like she was worried she'd inherit it. I wanted to tell her the truth. That my hands started shaking the night she was born. That it's called a neurological stress response. That every shake is a reminder of the worst and best moment of my life. But I didn't. I lied. "Just a tremor," I said. "Nothing serious." She wrinkled her nose. "Oh, okay." Then she went inside. I sat there with her bike, hands shaking worse than before, and realized she didn't want to know me. She just wanted to make sure she wouldn't end up like me. I never told her the truth. About what happened in that hospital room. It started the night Elise died. Shock trauma, the doctors said later. The kind that lives in your bones. They called it a neurological stress response. Permanent. Triggered by anxiety, exhaustion, or just random moments when my brain remembers what my body felt that night. I'd been holding Elise's hand when she flatlined, gripping it so hard my knuckles went white. When they finally pulled me away to work on her, my hands wouldn't stop shaking. They never really stopped. Some days it's barely noticeable. Other days, I can't hold a coffee cup steady. I learned to live with it, adapted, found ways to work around it. But every time Emily looked at my hands with that expression, like I was embarrassing, it reminded me that she didn't know. She didn't know that these shaking hands were the first hands to hold her. The hands that changed her diapers, made her bottles, rocked her to sleep. And I wrote the whole story in that letter she just mocked. To Elise's family, I was a burden they tolerated for her sake. To Emily's friends tonight? Invisible. I stood by that drink table for 20 minutes before Emily even noticed I'd arrived. And when she did, she gave me a quick hug and introduced me as Chris, not my dad. Her fiancé, Brandon, shook my hand limply. "Oh, you're the carpenter, right?" "Yeah." "Cool. We might need some work done on the house we're buying." That's all I was. A potential contractor. I smiled, nodded, played the part. And then Emily found that letter. The one Patricia must have framed and given her as some sort of sentimental gift. Except Patricia never told her the context. Never explained what it meant. Just hung it on the wall like decoration. And to Emily? It was just bad handwriting. A joke. But the joke's about to flip. I still have it. A wooden box. Inside, the original letter. The one I actually gave to Emily when she was a baby, unread by her because Patricia took it for safekeeping and never gave it back. And a second letter, sealed. For Emily. Written 2 years ago when I realized she might never know the truth unless I forced her to see it. The box sat in my closet for years. I wasn't planning to give it to her. But tonight, watching her laugh at my handwriting, something inside me snapped. Not anger. Sadness. I'd let Patricia and Gerald control the narrative for too long. Let Emily believe I was just the handyman dad who couldn't keep up with their world. I thought if I stayed quiet, stayed small, Emily would eventually come back to me on her own. But she won't. Because she doesn't know there's anything to come back to. So now, I'm done being quiet. I left without saying goodbye. Drove home in silence, hands shaking so bad I had to pull over twice. The next morning, Emily texted, "Hey, sorry if that upset you last night. It was just a joke. You know I love you." A joke. 26 years of sacrifice. Of showing up even when I wasn't wanted. Of loving her quietly, desperately, from the margins of her life. A joke. I stared at that text for 10 minutes. Then I got the box from my closet. I wrapped it carefully in brown paper. Wrote her address on it in my shaky handwriting. No note. No explanation. Just, for when you're ready to know the whole story. I mailed it that afternoon. And then I waited. She didn't open it. Not right away. For 2 weeks, nothing. I figured she'd tossed it or forgotten about it. Then my phone rang. "What is this?" Her voice was quiet, uncertain. I was in my workshop, sanding a table. I set down the sandpaper, wiped my hands. "It's the truth," I said. "There are 2 letters in here. It's the same one grandmother framed. But it's the original. And there's another one. Sealed." I took a breath. "Read the second letter. After the first one." "Chris, what?" "Just read it, Emily." And I hung up. My hands were shaking so badly I had to sit down. I didn't know if I'd done the right thing. Didn't know if she'd even open it. But I couldn't keep carrying this alone. That was the last time I answered her call. For 3 days, she tried reaching me. Left voicemails. Sent texts. I didn't respond. She needed to sit with the truth. Alone. The way I'd sat with grief alone for 26 years. The second letter was longer than the first. I'd written it like a confession. Every detail I'd kept buried. What happened in the minutes after Elise flatlined. What the doctor said to me when they pulled me aside. The decision I made in that moment that changed everything. And the lie Elise's parents told her. The lie that shattered everything. I explained it all in that letter. Every moment. Every choice. I told her about the birth plan Elise had written. The one Patricia and Gerald claimed didn't exist. The one where Elise wrote, in her own handwriting, "Chris is the father I trust. If something happens to me, he raises our daughter. Not my parents." I told Emily I had proof. A photocopy in a safe deposit box. And I told her why I never fought harder. Because Patricia convinced me that fighting would hurt Emily more. That custody battles would traumatize her. That I should just let her have stability. I believed her. I thought I was doing the right thing. I was wrong. Patricia and Gerald told Emily that Elise named them as guardians. That I wasn't ready. That I was falling apart after Elise died. That Elise feared I'd be too unstable to raise a child alone. But Elise never said that. Elise held my hand in that hospital bed, hours before labor started, and said, "If anything happens to me, promise you won't let them take her." I promised. And then she died. And I broke that promise. Not because I wanted to, but because I didn't know how to fight people with money and lawyers and the ability to make me look unfit. They made me believe I wasn't enough. That Emily deserved better. So I stepped back. Let them lead. And she wrote it in her birth plan. I had proof. The photocopy was dated, signed by Elise and witnessed by her best friend, Rachel. I'd kept it sealed for 26 years. Afraid to use it. Afraid it would make things worse. Until now. Emily showed up at my door. Eyes red. Mascara streaked. Voice shaking. Why didn't you fight harder? I let her in. We sat at my kitchen table, the same one where I used to help her with homework when she was little. I thought I'd already won, I said quietly. I thought loving you was enough. She stared at me. You let them lie to me. I didn't know they were lying. Not at first. By the time I realized, you were already theirs. Her face crumpled. I mocked you. I laughed at your letter. I didn't even know. I know. Silence. Then she asked the question I never saw coming. Did they keep you away on purpose? I looked at her. What do you mean? I mean, all those years. Did they actively try to keep us apart? I didn't answer right away. But she already knew. She'd started digging. Found old emails in Patricia's account when she was helping her set up a new phone. Emails about me. About managing Chris's involvement. She found a school transfer notification I was never told about. Emily had switched schools in 4th grade, and nobody informed me. Birthday party invites that got lost in the mail. Except they were never mailed. Patricia had them. Messages from me to Emily, sent through Patricia, that were never delivered. She deleted them, Emily whispered. She deleted your messages before I could see them. I didn't say anything. What could I say? You tried, Emily said, tears streaming now. You tried to reach me and they blocked you. I should have fought harder. You shouldn't have had to fight at all. Her hands were shaking now. Just like mine. And I realized she'd inherited more from me than she thought. Turns out her fiancé, Brandon, had met Patricia and Gerald before he met me. And they told him I was unstable. Still hasn't gotten over Elise, Patricia had said over brunch. Shaky hands, you know. Paranoid. Sweet guy, but broken. Brandon admitted this when Emily confronted him. He'd believed them. Thought I was some tragic figure who couldn't move on. That's why he barely spoke to me at the engagement party. That's why he introduced me as the carpenter instead of Emily's father. They'd poisoned him against me before we even met. Emily was furious. You didn't think to ask me about my own father? They seemed to know you better. 2 days later, she called off the wedding. Not because of me. Because she realized if Brandon trusted Patricia more than her, their marriage was already broken. And she couldn't marry someone who saw her father as a joke. Emily went to them. Told them what I'd shown her. Patricia's face went white. That letter is forged. It's notarized. Chris is manipulating you. I had it tested. Mom's handwriting. Verified. Gerald stood up, furious. Your mother was scared Chris couldn't handle being a parent. She literally wrote the opposite. Silence. We gave you everything, Patricia said quietly. We raised you. And you believe him over us. Emily's voice was steady. You lied to me for 26 years. Yes, I believe him. She walked out. The fallout wasn't just emotional. It was legal. Emily sued for access to her inheritance, money from Elise that Patricia and Gerald had controlled, claiming it was in trust, until Emily turned 30. She took back the house they'd gifted her, which was actually bought with Elise's life insurance money. She cut them off completely. 3 months later, Emily asked to move in. Just temporarily, she said, until I figure things out. I cleared out my workshop, set up a bedroom for her. It felt surreal, my daughter living with me for the first time in over a decade. She stood in the kitchen one morning, the same kitchen where I used to braid her hair before preschool, and whispered, I don't deserve your forgiveness. I set down my coffee cup. You don't need to earn my love, Emily. You never did. But my trust? That'll take time. She nodded. I'll wait. We started small. Dinners together. Books. Conversations that didn't revolve around her old life. She asked about Elise. Really asked. What she was like. How we met. What she loved. I told her everything. The good, the sad, the complicated. And slowly we started healing. But one final twist was still coming. One night, I handed Emily a final envelope. What is this? Not from me, I said. From your mom. Her hands froze. What? Elise wrote you a letter. The day before she went into labor. She asked the hospital to keep it sealed unless something happened to her. Emily's eyes filled with tears. And you kept it all this time? I didn't know if you'd ever want it. But now, I think you're ready. She opened it with shaking hands. I left the room to give her privacy. 20 minutes later, she found me in the garage. Her face was wrecked, tears streaming. She knew, Emily sobbed. She knew they'd try to take me from you. I pulled her into my arms. She wrote, Chris will be your anchor. Don't let them turn you against him. We stood there, holding each other, crying for everything we'd lost and everything we'd found. Emily struggled with guilt, with anger at Patricia and Gerald, with grief for the relationship we should have had. Some days were hard. She'd snap at me over small things, then apologize. I'd withdraw, afraid to push too hard, then force myself to stay present. We went to therapy, together and separately. Slowly we built something new. Not the father-daughter relationship we should have had, but the one we could have now. She started calling me dad again. Not Chris. The first time I cried. She helped me in the workshop. Learned how to sand, how to measure, how to use a level. She wasn't good at it, but she tried. And she stopped flinching when my hands shook. Instead, she'd reach over and steady them. Gently. Without comment. Like it was the most natural thing in the world. One Sunday, she asked if we could visit Elise's grave. We drove in silence. At the cemetery, Emily knelt by the headstone and cried. I stood beside her, hand on her shoulder. I'm sorry I didn't know you, she whispered to the stone. I'm sorry they kept you from me. When she stood, she looked at me. Tell me a story about her. A happy one. So I did. I told her about the time Elise tried to bake cookies and set off the smoke alarm. How she laughed so hard she couldn't breathe. How she made me promise to teach our daughter to cook better than her. Emily smiled. Did you? You're a better cook than both of us. We sat by the grave for an hour, talking about Elise. Remembering her. Bringing her back to life in the space between us. And for the first time in 26 years, I didn't feel like I was grieving alone. Emily moved into her own place eventually. A small apartment closer to her new job. But she came over every Sunday. We made it a tradition. Dinner, usually something simple. Talking. Laughing. She brought over the framed letter one night. The one she'd mocked. I want to hang this in my apartment, she said. The right way. With the story. I helped her frame both letters, the original and the one from Elise, side by side. Underneath, she added a small plaque, written by the steadiest hands I know. When she hung it on her wall, she stepped back and smiled. Thank you, she said quietly, for not giving up on me. I never could. She hugged me, and I realized this was enough. This moment, this second chance. We'd lost so much time, but we had now, and that mattered. I still have the tremor. It'll never go away. Some days it's worse than others. Some days I can barely sign my name. But Emily doesn't flinch anymore. She doesn't look away or make excuses. She cups my hand in both of hers when it shakes too badly. Steadies it. Reminds me I'm not broken. Last week, she called me from her apartment. Faded. I'm making that roast you taught me. Can you come over? Not Chris. I drove over, hands shaking on the wheel, heart full. When I got there, she had the table set, candles lit, the framed letters on the wall above us. I want to propose a toast, she said, raising her glass. To the shaky hands that held me up when I didn't even know I was falling. I raised my glass. We clinked them together. And for the first time in 26 years, I felt like I'd kept my promise to Elise. Emily wasn't lost anymore. She was home.